Welcome to the Third Win channel. Today we're doing a tier list for the episodes of Season 5 of iCarly. We've done Seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4 already, so I suggest you check those out first before you come to this video. And let's get into the Season 5 video. We have only 9 episodes, not including the bloopers episode, so quite a short video for you today. And also, it's a bit of a mixed season for me. But let's get into it, and then I'll discuss what I don't really like about the season, which starts with I Lost My Mind, which is after the events of I Oh My God, which is where Sam and Freddie kiss again, and it seems like that Sam loves Freddie. And for me, I'll just say I think this one's pretty good. We get Jim Parsons here as a mini character, and we get Spencer dressing as Sam's mom, and you know, Sam going through this natural process of thinking she's crazy for liking Freddie. And what I will say about the whole Sam and Freddie thing, it just always feels so unnatural. Like, I always thought that Freddie and Carly kind of made for a more natural fit, and whenever it's Sam and Freddie, it just feels forced and like unbelievable. So I don't know, I'm not a big fan of this whole cycle, and they just had too many episodes where it was like a focus. And it just didn't feel like a normal relationship, and I don't think Sam is, you know, ready for a relationship. She has to deal with her own problems, but that's beyond the point. I think this episode is just pretty good. I can watch it. I'm not going to skip it, but it does bother me a little bit. Next, we have I Date Sam and Freddie, and this is a skip for me. This is basically they cannot have a normal conversation without fighting, so they have to take Carly everywhere, which includes going to this fancy restaurant where they put her on a separate table, and every time they have a fight, they call Carly over, and it ends with Carly saying, you know what, if you can't deal with your own problems, then you shouldn't be in a relationship. So, I don't know, I don't think it's a very exciting episode, and it just proves more and more why, I don't know, the whole thing seems a little forced. Next, we got I Can't Take It, which is, again, a Sam and Freddie themed episode. Basically, what happens in this one is, Sam, about 3 or 4 months ago, she messed up Freddie's application to this camp, and people start finding out about it. Gibby and Miss Benson doesn't know that they're dating, so Gibby doesn't like that they're dating because Freddie's dating Sam. Now Sam doesn't have someone to like hurt, so now she's hurting Gibby. So Gibby tells Mrs. Benson about them dating, and everything unravels, and Benson comes through with this you know, her ruining his application, which ends up in a huge confrontation and people getting hurt, including Gibby. But it ends with them, you see in the picture below, kissing here, and they make up. This episode, I guess, also, it has a better premise than this episode that in Dating Sam and Freddie episode, but yeah, I'll stick it in pretty good as well. You can see how similar these episodes are. They're just, don't love them. Next, we have I Love You, which is thankfully the last one, which ends, well, basically, they try to get into each other's hobbies because they don't have so much in common, but it doesn't work out because Sam wants Freddie to come meet her, I think it was her cousins or something, in prison, and Freddie wants Sam to come meet his train club gang, but it doesn't work out, basically, and they overhear a conversation about that Spencer is having with someone about one of, like, his exes, and they start to think to themselves, like, this sounds a lot like us, and, you know, this isn't going to work out, and they basically decide to break up, but they do admit to loving each other, and they still have a little fun before they break up at midnight. So, this episode, yeah, I'd stick it in maybe the best one of, I'll put it here, but all these episodes are like, I could skip them all because this is a small 6-episode stint that lands from I Oh My God to I Love You. That, I don't know, you could just cut it out and the show would not really change for you. And these episodes aren't very good to me. I don't like this whole direction. But let's move on. Now we have 5 more on the normal side episodes. We got IIQ, where Carly meets this really smart type, and she tries to become as smart as him, and, you know, I don't know, sway him to think that she's super smart. But we know that Carly is academically smart. We had episodes in the past where she gets all A's, and she gets really sad about getting 1B. So it's not like she's dumb. So there is a bit of a character conflict there, but I think what they mean is this guy is like, you know, trivia king. He knows all these things that you don't really need to know, and he speaks very sophisticated. Well, he uses big words, basically. But the episode ends with, you know, Carly being dishonest and trying to hide cheat notes for her dates, which the guy doesn't like because he'd rather her just be herself than lie to him. So I think that this is a pretty great episode. Maybe we top a pretty good, I think, is a little harsh, but actually I have to be critical and think about my other reviews, and I think that this, honestly, it fits more in the pretty good section. Next, we got I Still Psycho, which has to be going one of my favorites. I really liked I Psycho, and I think they bumped it up a level in I Still Psycho, although it doesn't make much sense as to why they would pardon her or why they would go to her house after they pardoned her. So that's the only complaint I guess I have, but everything else, my absolute favorite bit is when Gibby goes in the chimney and they forget about him, and Carly wakes up at the end of the episode and goes, Gibby, and Gibby's in the rain at night, and he's getting tennis balls thrown at him. And I don't want to spoil this episode too much for the ones if you haven't seen it, but it's really good. Moving on, we have Eyeballs. I don't remember why it's called Eyeballs, but this is one where Carly has to go to Yakima to take care of her grandfather who's just had foot surgery, and Freddie decides, well, Sam has to do iCarly alone, but then Freddie decides I can also be creative, and he has some terrible jokes like his robot thing, and then he comes up, and then Sam recommends him coming up with some kind of technology that's creative that they could use, but it ends up making people's eyes go wonky when watching it on iCarly. But the good part is that it does cure a girl's really rare eye disease that makes her like not really be able to see properly. So he basically created a cure for a disease, which is incredible. But what I like about this episode is it showcases why Freddy's behind the camera, and I think they did it quite well. So yeah, I think this is a great episode. It kind of answers some questions. Next, we have I Meet the First Lady. This has to go in iconic for me. She was actually the first lady at the time. The episode originally starts out with like iCarly wanting to talk to her dad on her birthday, and then they get contacted by these like government officials, like you have what is it called, captured the attention of some very high government officials, and it sounds like, oh no, it's because we talked to her dad, or like the static connection, whatever. But it turns out Michelle Obama is a huge fan of the show, and I think it's pretty wholesome. I don't know. I think it's iconic at the very least. It's not a bad episode either, but obviously it's a little bit kind of catered to being this Michelle Obama episode. Next, we have I Toe Fat Cakes, which is, I think I need to put it into my favorites as well, especially compared to the rest of the season. I love how, well, we all know that Sam loves fat cakes, and I think it's really funny how even though they're illegal, well, they go to Canada for the Canadian fat cakes, and even though they're illegal in the US, Sam tries to smuggle them over. She doesn't even bring ID. Gibby didn't know that Canada was a different country. They didn't know what the first president of the US was. All these different things happen. Oh, and by the way, Carly stays because she has a date, but then she gets her toe stuck in the bathtub. Okay. The feet thing again. Dan Schneider. But what else can I say about this episode? I don't know. I think it's just super fun. I like the stuff at the border, and with the stuff with Canadians, and Gibby and Sam are really shining this episode. And it's just really funny, especially compared to all these episodes. So yeah, that's my list. I'd like to know if you guys agree with me with the whole SETI thing, if you like to call it the shipping term. Do you agree that these episodes are pretty lame? These four here. I don't know. I think they're lame. I'm more of a creddy guy, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, that's season 5. We have one more to go, season 6. And then we'll be done. So if you like the series, drop a subscribe, because we're going to be making more iCarly content, especially after June 17th when the new show drops. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys soon.